grow, and there was actually a zone of inhibition around the fungus. And so they decided that they would purify the compounds from those fungi and figure out how they were killing the bacteria. It turns out that the vast majority of antibiotics that all of you have taken in your lifetime are fungal derived. They're almost always from the Streptomyces, either from the Streptomyces bacteria or from a particular clade in the fungi. And the vast majority of things that you know as antibiotics are small molecules that inhibit the activity of the ribosome. They very specifically target bacterial ribosomes. Now, when we learned about ribosomes, we learned that bacteria have one class of ribosomes, right? They have a small subunit, a large subunit. They use slightly different RNAs that go into them and slightly different protein components. It turns out that if you can take a compound that can get into cells and it can block the activity of a bacterial ribosome while not blocking the activity of your own ribosome, then you can generally kill the organism that is infecting you while not hurting yourself. If you manage to take a compound like alpha-amanitin, which does a really good job of messing with eukaryotic factors as well as prokaryotic factors, then you die. This is one suggestion to not eat mushrooms that you gather in the wild. They happen to be rather full of all these wonderful compounds, some of which inhibit both eukaryotic and bacterial activities. So what we want to do is treat people with an antibiotic, sort of limit the growth and potentially kill some of the bacteria that are inside them, such that their natural defense systems can take over and take care of things. And so here's some antibiotics that, how many of you in this room have taken tetracycline or tetracycline derivative? All right, put your hands up high, high, I want them high. How many of you actually have any clue what you were taking when you took it? Perfect, see? Learn something. If you're going to be a doctor and the doctor's like, oh, here, take this little pink pill. Think about what the hell's in the little pink pill. Tetracyclines actually block amino-acylated tRNAs that are bound by EFTU in its GTP-bound form from binding the A site of the ribosome. And that blockage is sufficient to kill cells. How many have taken chloramphenicol? I know you took chloramphenicol. Maybe, maybe not. You probably all took chloramphenicol. The ribosome needs to move along the RNA. That's called the the ribosome is a ribozyme. It needs to allow the peptidyl tRNA to attack the amino-acyl tRNA and transfer the peptide from the A to the P site. That peptidyl reaction is catalyzed by the ribosome, making it a ribozyme. And chloramphenicol is a compound that actually binds inside the ribosome and physically inhibits the activity of the ribosome as a ribozyme, not allowing the reaction from P to A to happen. I'll test you on one of these three, so just learn them all. Guaranteed test question. The last one is erythromycin. I'm sure if I ask for a sign of raise of hands, most of you have taken this antibiotic as well, or some mild derivative of it. Erythromycin actually backs the translocation step. Once the RNA has been transferred from the P, once the polypeptide has been transferred from the P site to the A site, the RNA that is now in the A site wants to move to the P site. The large subunit moves over with the help of EFG in its GTP-bound state, and erythromycin is responsible for blocking that translocation step. And that's how they work. Now, how many of you have had a cold in your life? Absolutely. If you don't raise your hand, you're lying, okay? And almost all of you have had parents who freaked out about you having a cold and an earache, and they took you to your pediatrician. They were good parents. If they were horrible parents like me, they just told you to suck it up because the pediatrician can't do anything for you anyway. And I just let my kids suffer because I knew they had viral infections. Good way to know if you have a viral infection. You don't have giant amounts of boogers coming out of you, right? Viruses generally don't lead to boogers. They lead to clear discharge. Bacteria lead to boogers because you're discharging dead bacteria. If you're going to treat a viral infection, treat it with something that will actually kill the virus. Viruses are basically just sacs carrying around some nucleic acid. They cannot autonomously replicate. Technically, they are not alive. They can infect your cells and inject some nucleic acids, but they're reliant on your ribosomes to actually make their proteins. So the only way to stop making their proteins is to stop making your proteins. If you stop making your proteins, yes, you will beat the viral infection because you will die. Plus the virus, which wasn't alive in the first place, will also technically die. So it's not a good thing to do. But we've got a big problem. Every time you go to the pediatrician, if I was a pediatrician and I sent an average mom and dad home with their little baby who was screaming and said, just let him scream for a couple of days, it'll go away. They would never come back. They would go find a new pediatrician. Because we've been brought up in a culture where you go to a doctor and they give you a magic little pill and you get better. So doctors are classically trained to make sure people leave with something. If you have a kid, every kid